pretty much the end goal for like any kind of like grief therapy or whatever is like detaching yourself from like whoever died, like just moving on, like letting go, when it don't gotta be like that. What's up? I'm the Empathetic Chicken. I realize I've been gone a really long time, and so I'm kind of trying to get back into the swing of things. I don't know who follows my Instagram, but I posted about my dad passing away in April, and so this video is kind of going to be about my experience with that. So for those who didn't know, which if you watch my readings and stuff, you probably know, because my last reading that I did was about like my dad and his illnesses and stuff. So he had diabetes and congestive heart failure and kidney failure, and they eventually took their toll. Like, he got diagnosed with all that like years ago, but I mean, he didn't change his eating habits or any of that, so it kind of progressed and finally led to a stroke, which kind of like was a big, I mean, it wasn't a shock, but it was just kind of sudden. And then like he was paralyzed on his right side, so it was an adjustment. Like, I guess I didn't really ever expect him to have one. I mean, the doctors kept telling him like, look, if you don't change something, you're probably gonna have a stroke. But I didn't really, I don't know. I mean, I knew his life was gonna end eventually, like with the way his health was. I don't know, you never like want to think about like it actually happening. So like when that stroke happened, it was kind of just like an extra like confirmation that it was quick, like it was coming quick. And so yeah, that was back in March, like the beginning of March. I got a call from my sister like in the middle of the morning, like, or not in the middle of the morning, it was like early in the morning, talking about he had had a stroke. And so they called the ambulance and got him to the hospital and everything. And then when he was in there, he pretty much refused the treatment because he's just, or he was very hard-headed. And he didn't want the doctors to mess with him, so he just kind of like didn't want to cooperate with anything and basically left without them saying that he could leave. I mean, they can't really keep you there, but like he pretty much made me sign papers that said like he was going against doctor's orders, which to me felt like I was kind of signing his life away. But I mean, whatever, because I mean, he couldn't really write or anything anymore because his right side being paralyzed and everything, so like I had to do most of the stuff for him, like consent forms and all that. But yeah, sorry. So we did that, and then he got transported home, and then they pretty much put him on hospice care, which is basically like just getting you comfortable to die. Like, it's the final days. So that was like weird. Like, I remember riding in that transit with him and just kind of, I don't know, it was weird. I was just thinking about how it's probably like on the road to the end, you know? So the other thing that was really difficult is that, like, because he refused to stay in the hospital, like, there was no way for like anybody to take care of him but me and my sister. And sorry, I'm kind of like, it's foggy, like it's been months and I'm just kind of trying to remember everything. So he wouldn't go in like a home or anything either, like a hospice, like in-house, whatever they call that place. So he wanted to die at his home, like, which I respect, but it like put a lot of pressure on me and my siblings because like we obviously had to figure out how to take care of him, because I mean, my mom and him are separated. They have been for years, and like he doesn't like her, so like he wasn't gonna let her come and take care of him. And I mean, really, she's not really capable. I mean, she could have, but she got her own stuff. She don't need to be, they'd be arguing, so it wouldn't have worked. But Anyway, I managed to take off work with him. Like, luckily my job was really understanding with that. And let me off work so that I could help my sister, because I mean, I knew she wasn't going to be able to lift him by herself or any of that. So we kind of just rode it out. Like, the hospice nurse would come and check in every week, and yeah, it's kind of all a blur, really. Like when I was in it, it felt like unbearable. And like, I'll have moments where I'm kind of just like in shock. Like, I'll realize like, oh, that really happened. And like, I'll have flashbacks and stuff about how bad it was and how bad he got. And it's just rough, man. So when like you're in the hospice thing, at least the way it was when my dad was in it, like, they have the nurses come and give you medicine, and they gave him like morphine and some other stuff to try to like calm him down. I don't even remember at this point. Like, I don't know. It's like I'd like to forget, but then like I don't, because I mean, I don't want to, because that's my dad. Like, I don't know. That was like the last time that I spent with him. So it's a really like complicated thing. Indeed, friend, indeed. But he didn't want any of the medicines, which made it even harder, because he just was suffering, and like there was nothing we could do to help him, and like the only thing that we had to help was the medicine, and he refused to take it, which, I mean, I respect his decision. Like, on some level, it's really horrible that we had to like see that, and that he was so stubborn that he wouldn't even make that easy on us, like, because it was already hard enough, like, having to be like so alone in a situation like that. Because like I feel like most people, or I don't know, I won't generalize, but like a lot of people have like families to lean on, like when they're losing somebody, so it's not just them. But with us, it was like just us, like dealing with something that we've never, like, we don't have a big family. I mean, we have a family, but like we're not close to them. So to me, I don't have anybody but my mom, my dad, and my siblings. So like, to go through like a loss like that was like a lot. Do you want to do the video? Because I mean, we could swap. I'm sure you could like talk better than me, because I already can't articulate myself. But yeah, it was just a struggle to see him like that, and to like accept that eventually he was gonna die. And it was kind of like waiting. It was just like every day waiting, like knowing it was gonna happen, not wanting it to happen, but at the same time like wanting it to be over, like not wanting to stress about it anymore. And so it was just like a mixture. That's kind of like why I want to do this video, like for other people, like if they're grieving or losing somebody, or like they got a parent with like a terminal illness, or anybody like with a, like, we're all gonna die, so like it's inevitable. But like if you got somebody that's kind of close to going, like it can be a struggle to like come to terms with that. And so I just wanted to like document some of my thoughts and feelings like during the process, just in case like anybody else out there struggling, and like they need to know that like it's alright to feel how they're feeling. And so it was just a very confusing time. And like, I feel like I still have regrets, like even though I know like I did everything that I could and I was there for him like he wanted. Like, I'm really happy that I was able to be there for him in his last days. Like, he just wanted to be at his home. He was hard-headed, but I mean, I respect him for it. Like, I really admire that side of him, because I mean, I think that's where I get like some of my stubbornness too. So I mean, I can't really blame him. I would want the same thing. But I'm really happy that I could be here for him. But at the same time, like, it just came with, like, the price of, like, I mean, I don't want to say trauma, but, like, it was traumatic to watch that. Just, like, the decline. And just, like, I mean, maybe if I had, like, been exposed to death more, like, as a kid, or I don't know, it's probably just still scary, like, when you're young, too. I don't know what would have made it, like, less disturbing. I don't know if it's just how I'm, like, thinking about it. I mean, I know death is not, like, this horrible, like, it's not supposed to be this horrible thing. Like, I know the way that, like, our culture portrays it is this, like, really horrible thing. Like, I know it's gotta happen. But it's just, like, when you're, I guess if you're like me, and you don't have many connections, like, losing, I mean, I'm not saying, like, I'm special or anything, like, what am I trying to say? I mean, losing anybody is probably hard. I'm just saying, like, I couldn't really fathom losing anybody because my, like, social or, like, relationship pool was so small. So, like, to me it was, like, earth-shattering to lose, like, one of the main people that I've known. And it's kind of weird, like, because, I mean, I don't really remember being that close with my dad before, like, when I was younger. I mean, maybe when I was a kid more. I don't have many memories. That's another thing. My memory is crap. So, like, that's what sucks about it, too, is, like, I only have, like, the scary times. Because, I mean, me and my dad really got close when he got sick. Because, like, I would go with him to his appointments and keep his meds up to date and all that. So, like, I didn't really spend as much time with him before because he was working. But then, like, once he got his disability and everything, like, I got to visit with him more and get closer. So, I don't know. I don't even know where I was going with that, honestly. I don't. This is really weird, though. I feel, like, detached from myself as I'm talking. Like, this doesn't feel like me talking right now. Which, I mean, I've been feeling detached all day, so, like, it's probably nothing new. Like, it's fine. And I really don't know what the expectation is that I have for this. Like, I really just wanted to make videos again and get out of my rut, because I feel like ever since it happened, I've just been giving up on life a little bit. Like, I feel like I go back and forth. I think one of the hardest things for me is, like, knowing that, like, I've been through this horrible thing, and not to say that other people don't go through horrible things. Like, that's what bothers me, is, like, we all go through horrible things, but, like, no one else will ever know how horrible it felt to us, if that makes any sense. It's like loneliness, like, even though, like, you can share an experience, like, your, I guess, feeling during it can be completely different. Like, I guess that was that trauma, like how it affects people different. I don't know. It's like, I don't really want to be a downer. Like, if that's on my mind, like, if I'm feeling upset, or, like, I'm trying to process, like, what I've been through, but, like, when it's all I can think about, and it's still bothering me, like, I kind of feel like that's what I'm going to need to talk about. And I've noticed, like, myself kind of being really, I don't want to say negative, because I don't like to classify stuff as that, because, I mean, it's just feeling. You ain't got to be judgmental about it. But yeah, I don't know, like, people don't really want to talk about dead people, really, I've noticed. And, I mean, I guess I can't blame them, because, like, it's not really, like, a happy thing. Like, I mean, I really don't know. Like, I'm still on the fence, because, like, if I was taught differently, like, if our culture taught us that, like, people weren't just gone when they die, and like it wasn't just like the end all be all, like see you later, then maybe it wouldn't be so scary to accept or like think about. But I don't know, that's the thing, is like I just have all these memories, and like I'll be having flashbacks in the middle of work, like just thinking about like how my dad looked like when he died. It was just kind of like, what do you do with that? And like you just be randomly tearing up for like, not for no reason, but like to other people it might seem like for no reason, but like you can't really let, or I feel like I can't really let that out in the middle of work, because then it just look like, I don't know, people be like, what's wrong with you? But it doesn't go away. I mean, it's been like 3 months, I think. May, June, July. Yeah, like 3 months. And like some days I'm decent. Like I don't really, I mean, I think about him every day. But like some days I won't be thinking about the horrible moments as much. And then other days it'll just like hit me. And it'll feel like just as bad as like the day I was there. But I don't know. So that's one thing, is just like not knowing what to do with these feelings, like when they come up. I mean, I guess I don't need to do anything but just let myself feel them. But it just sucks to not have like anybody to confide in, or like, you know, just process that stuff. Because when it comes, it hits hard. And it just puts me in a foul mood. Like these past 3 months, I just have had like no desire to like exist. And I'll just like, I don't know, I'll want to do things, and then I'll just talk myself out of them and just be all like nihilistic about it. Like, I don't know. But on the other hand, like sometimes my nihilism kind of helps me, because I'd be like, this shouldn't matter because I'm going to be a corpse someday, you know? And it makes me feel better to know that like people worry about all these things when in the end we're all just going to rot. That sounds really morbid, but I mean, it also could be interpreted as like live life to the fullest, because I mean, you know, I don't know. Like I have like really, I feel like that's one thing, that's like a, I don't want to say like side effect of grief, but like that's one thing I've noticed after having gone through like a loss, is I don't even like calling it a loss, because like I don't like to think that like my dad is just like gone out of my life now. Like even though he's physically gone, like he's still here. Like I know you here. You said you would be. But yeah, anyway, that's like a thing that I've noticed, like my little apathy has kind of like increased a lot. And it's weird though, because like I was doing so good with life. My little beliefs, like I was feeling okay about life, and I was, you know, kind of okay despite my dad being sick and everything. But then like once he finally died, it was just kind of like everything just went out the window. Like I couldn't feel better anymore. Hard to care about anything. Which really, like, my life is not that bad. That's the thing. Like, you go through something really bad, but your life is still, like, good. It's just kind of like, what do you do with that? Like, everything isn't horrible, even though it feels like it. But I'm slowly coming out. I'm emerging from my little cave. And I think that's perfectly okay that I disappeared for a while. Like sometimes we just need to like have a little moment to deal with what we're feeling. There's also been like this lingering sense of dread since it happened. It's like sometimes I'll feel like I'm okay, but then like in the back of my mind I'll have this thought like, you remember what happened, right? Like you remember he's gone, right? And it's kind of like I can like things don't feel like quite right anymore, like ever. I don't really know if they will. after that. But that kind of sucks. And then like another thing I noticed is like when other people just be like talking about their dads, which is fine, it's not their fault. But I'll just be really like spiteful, just thinking like, it must be nice to have a dad. But it's just like, so, like I know I'm being like unreasonable because like it's like I wouldn't wish anyone else's dad to die or like not be present. I mean, some people don't have, I mean, maybe they don't know their dads, you know, like. So like when you're in the grief, it's like, for me, it just felt like I make myself like the only victim, like, oh, like I don't have a dad. Like, I don't think that's necessarily like bad to do either, because like obviously when you lose somebody, you're gonna wish that they could be there, you know. So I don't know. It's just frustrating to like feel those kind of feelings and know that like you don't want to have them, but you do. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like, I don't like feeling like jealous of other people having their family, like, because I mean, everybody deserves to have like love and connection. But then I'd be like spiteful because I don't feel like I have that. So it's just kind of like hard to see other people like having support. Because like I said, that was like one of the biggest things that was so hard, is like going through something like that and having nobody to turn to. And like one of the only people that you've ever had to turn to, like one of them is like dying right now. Like that was freaking horrible. It's like one less person to consult like for help if you needed anything. It's like, how am I gonna do this by myself? Like I don't feel like an adult yet. Like age don't make you an adult. Like I just feel like so sheltered. Like I didn't learn anything hardly. Like what am I gonna do? So that was going through my mind, like how am I gonna make it without like one of my parents? Which I mean, I'm making it, like it's fine. I just like was panicking, like dang, I don't know enough. Like how am I gonna do this? Like you always help me with this. Like anything with the car, like what am I gonna do? Another thing is just like wanting to not feel miserable anymore. But then like feeling like if I'm not miserable, then I didn't care. Or that I'm over my dad dying. Which I know that's not true, but like my head be telling me lies. Be saying like, look, you deserve to be miserable because if you're not, that means you never cared. And that you're like moving on and leaving him behind. And it's just really scary, like, because the more time passes, it's like, it just feels like I'm gonna forget him. I know I won't, but it's just weird to think that someone was here and now they're not. And like, I'll never see him again, like physically, I guess. And it's just like, weird. I think I also wanted to share like some grief oriented like books, or I guess stuff on the topic of death that might help other people. Like I know one of the books I found and read during the whole process was this, which is kind of like not like the whole stages of grief, like it's not really oriented to that, which I don't really follow that whole thing. Like it's fine if you want to, but I'm not into like prescriptive methods of grief or anything really. Like I mean, I think it's a nice framework, like if you want to follow, like if you want some kind of like explanation for your feelings or whatever, but like I feel like a lot of times like it doesn't always apply and you get caught up thinking like you're not grieving right or something. I don't even know, like honestly I don't know that much about it, so I don't really want to speak about it. But this is just kind of like a good book about grief, like that's not prescriptive and all of that. I mean, it does talk about like letting go of like the grief and all that, but I don't know. It was helpful to me. remember. It's kind of like what I was talking about, like being afraid of forgetting. Like you don't want to let go of the grief because like you know that that's kind of tied to the person that you lost. And if you let it go, you're afraid that like that'll make your connection with the person like disappear, which is not true. So I mean, it's good. I feel like I ain't gonna say much about it. I'll just let if somebody wants to check it out. Like I liked it because it was like bunnies and animals, and it was cute, and it was just like kind of like a kid's book, but like on like a I don't want to say an adult topic because like death is kind of like it's gonna happen to anybody like anytime. But yeah, I felt like it was like approachable, I guess, because it's like pictures and little words and stuff. So there was that one, and then this one, I can't say that I've read the whole thing. I started reading it back in like 2017. Like, I got a good bit through it. Don't ask me to tell you what I read back then, because I cannot remember. Like, it's been years. But I picked this one back up, like when I was taking care of my dad, because it has like sections in here about how to like be there for the dying, because I was really wanting to be supportive. Like I didn't, like that's another thing that's hard, is like when you're with someone who's dying, like I just kept thinking, like I wanted to know what he was thinking, like my dad, while he was going through the process, because like I knew it had to be hard to like, I don't know, accept like your mortality, you know, like what is that like to just know that you're about to die? So I just wanted to be as like supportive as possible and like be there if he needed to talk or like, you know, be comforted, which I mean he didn't really say much at the end because like he had the stroke and it was hard for him to talk. And I mean my dad's never really been that much of like a deep talker or anything or like emotional. So that was a weird thing too, like wanting to be close with him and like loving and, you know, let him know that I cared, you know, but like certain people, they kind of just not that, they're not touchy-feely or like loving, you know. He kind of had some issues with that, so that was another little hurdle. But anyways, like I was looking for like how to be there for him, and I felt like this book had some good advice of how to be like compassionate and, you know, attentive and all that. But yeah, it's like really full of stuff, so I would recommend that if you wanna pick that up or look into it. And this one, like, I don't know, it's not really like a everyday kind of book, like I mean anybody could read it, but I read it for my therapy training. And it's really about like helping, I guess, clients who are going through loss or like the dying, if they're struggling to accept things or whatever. But it has like, it talks about like the mainstream views of death and how they're harmful. Like for example, I had some little highlighted stuff. Like I was going through this thing last night. I was like, I'm gonna talk about this and this and this and this. Because I really love this book, because it just like hits some points like this. I think this way of like thinking really helped me. I'm not gonna say like the loss, I don't want to keep saying the loss, like my dad's death, like it wasn't like, I'm not gonna say it wasn't hard or wasn't painful, but like having the knowledge and like the perspective that this book gave me, like when I read it, like definitely helped me to like figure out where I wanted to go, like with the relationship with my dad, like after his passing. So I'm grateful that I had this, because I mean I was distraught, still distraught some days, but like this helps me to feel like I can still be connected to him. And I guess I should tell you some of the ideas so that you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, so this book talks about like how we're kind of taught that it's unhealthy to like remain attached to someone who dies, and that it's wrong, like if we still want to be like attached to them even after they're gone. and like that we have to let go of the dead loved one. We have to say goodbye and accept the reality of the death to reach closure and move on from the loss. And like it talks about how like this builds distance between us and our loved ones rather than connection. And said for some people this can even feel like cutting off a part of themselves. So like that's kind of like the mindset that we take like in Western society, I guess. Like once somebody's gone, they're just gone. You should just like move on without them. Like goodbye, see you later, sayonara. Like, but I mean, it doesn't have to be that way. Even though I don't understand. It was probably Freud. It was probably his fault. He's the culprit of everything. Like I think this book even mentions him, but I ain't gonna go there. Anyway, so it says, let's see, in the field of death and grief, we want to notice how modernist agenda has been made manifest, the kinds of knowledge that the dominant meta-narratives of medicine and psychology have produced, and the cultural assumptions that have been privileged in the process. We are talking here about how dominant discourses of death can be found echoed both in academic theories and also in daily conversation. In particular, we want to question the following assumptions about death and grief: the unity of death and grief experiences across different cultural contexts, the place of the individual at the center of the psychology of grief, the assumption of death as a psychological finality because it represents biological finality, the expectation that grief will be a heavy and sad process which culminates in the individual successfully detaching from a relationship with the deceased, the implicit requirement in many theories of grief for people to produce themselves in ways that fit into a world dominated by a modernist agenda. What you doing? Let's see. So anyway, like pretty much the end goal for like any kind of like grief therapy or whatever is like detaching yourself from like whoever died, like just moving on, like letting go. When it don't gotta be like that. Like you can keep them alive like in ways. I mean, it's not like obviously they're gone like physically. Like it's not like we sitting here expecting like somebody to, you know, zombie or something. I don't know. That's probably more to talk about on a death video. But like, you know, it's just like who is it hurting if you're like talking to your loved one? You know, I mean, just because somebody says that's weird, like the whole thing where people say like you talk to yourself, you're crazy and blah blah blah. Like I talk to myself all the time. Like I'm talking to myself right now. Do I care? No. So I mean, we don't always got to go by what the mainstream thinks, because I mean, if it's gonna help me to like talk to this tree because my dad's ashes are there and think that that's him, then I'm gonna freaking do it, because I know he's here. Like I don't care what nobody says, he's still here. I mean, he might not be right here because he might have better things to do, but I know he's still like, even if he's not like here in any like, I don't know, metaphysical way, like I know he's still here like within me, like I'm still his DNA. I mean, he still taught me a lot of what I know, like I'm still living like by his, you know, teachings and whatever, you know. So he's not dead like in all aspects. Like yeah, physically he's dead, but like he's still, you know, his legacy lives on. So I really like that this book kind of challenges like those notions of like, oh, you gotta let go. What does it say? What did I say? Yeah, I already went through that. Let me keep going. Okay. So I really wanted to read this too, because I felt like it was a good little example. It says, when we love someone, we enjoy being in their presence. However, we are also able to carry them with us throughout our day. When we are away at work or a loved one has gone to the grocery store, we do not stop loving that person simply because we cannot see her or him for a period of time. We are able to hold this We are able to hold this connection intact in our hearts. In their absence for short or longer periods, we do not call into question their membership in our club of life. It talks about like how your club of life is like your people, like the people you choose to be like important, you know, like even if they ain't related to you, like, your fam. So that's what they mean by like club of life. But anyway, in fact, if required, we could conjure up their image and words with little effort, since we know them well enough. Death does not need to change this. The people we know and love can be said to be always right with us, whether present in body or not. Let's see. We do not have to be caught in the realist assumption that if the other person is not present and visible to us, then the relationship no longer exists. We teach young children to learn that a parent going out of the room is not going out of their lives. The childhood game of peekaboo is a basic teaching tool for this lesson. As children grow, they learn to handle transitions that occur as parents leave the house and return. We learn that out of sight does not have to equate with out of mind. As we age into adolescence and adulthood, we know that membership continues even with people with whom we are not physically in contact. We amass literally hundreds of examples of friends, teachers, and relatives with whom we are able to stay in relationship without being in their physical presence every waking minute. So, I mean, I thought that was a good point. Like, just because you can't see somebody don't mean they ain't still there. Like, you can still have your little conversations with them. Like, think about, there's another part, where is it? There's another thing in here that was talking about, like, things that you can do to kind of keep them alive. Where is it? I freaking forgot my own notes. Ooh, it was at the beginning, I remember now. Let's see. Remembering may involve keeping a person's voice alive through repeating their words in relation to new developments in life. It may involve consulting the deceased's opinion as a resource for dealing with a new challenge. It may involve keeping a place in family gatherings or rituals for someone who is no longer alive. It may involve telling young children stories about a dead grandparent's life. It may involve committing oneself to living for some value or purpose that a dead loved one held dear. So it's like, you don't gotta just cut them out, man. And this says, rather than building utterances and rituals around cutting someone off, we can look for places of inclusion and continuity. Rather than requiring the breaking of bonds, we can seek out opportunities for them to continue. Let's see. They continue to give us their legacies, man. The transition that death requires can therefore be thought of as a process of reincorporation of the old relationship in some new forms, precisely so that it can continue. To achieve this transition, we need to be creative about designing ways to reincorporate the dead in our thoughts, in our conversations, and our rituals of living. Yes, I know one thing that I did, like when I got home finally, because I was away from home for like over a month, but like it was weird to like be there and like not have my dad. I mean, it's not like my dad lived with me before, but like it was just weird to not have something to like remind me of him. Like, I don't know, because I mean, I knew I couldn't go visit him anymore, and so I got me a candle. And luckily, like, my boyfriend was into like candle making for a while, so he had all this like wax. So like I had everything I needed to like pour me up a little candle, and like I took a picture of my dad and like taped it to the outside of the candle, or to the jar that I found. And then I gathered me up like some little pine cone pieces and like lined the top of it and wrapped it with like some jute, a little whatever that ropey stuff, and just made it, because I was like, my dad is not really like a candle kind of dude, so I had to make it like naturey and like outdoorsy, you know. So added his little pine stuff. And like to me that felt like a way that I could like connect with him every day, like just so he knows that I'm like still thinking of him, you know. I ain't just gonna like write him off like they want me to. So that was really like healing for me, to like pour up my little candle, and like every night I light it, and I just feel like that's like a way to connect with him, like just visit, you know. And then like this tree, he wanted his ashes spread around it, so like every week I come out here and just kind of chill with him, you know. Yeah, so I think like there's definitely ways to, I mean, just because like funerals are like the most popular like way to honor death. Like, that doesn't have to be like the ending. Like, it's not the only thing that you can do. Like, I mean, you can light your little candle, you can bring flowers, you can chill out at the grave, you can like go get their favorite food or something. Like, I wish that was one thing. My dad's food, man, he loved his food, and I just feel guilty if I like go get something and eat it. Like, I was eating ice cream the other day, and I was like, I'm sorry, I wish you could have some. And I know like people be doing them little ancestor offerings, but like, I just feel bad wasting the food. I mean, I ain't judging nobody, but like, I just can't do that. So anyway, like, you get creative, like, just however like you want to feel connected. Like, with my dad, he really liked this one Karen Carpenter song, and I be listening to that, and it helps me feel like connected to him, you know? So like, whatever helps. Just don't think that you can't still like have a relationship with somebody just because they're gone. Or I mean, not gone, I don't think he's gone, but like physically gone. You know what I'm saying, right? Like, by now you probably know what I mean. So I mean, I talk to my dad every day, so I don't think that's weird. Like, I don't agree with just cutting somebody out of your life. Like, I think there was an example in this book. Like, I don't want to, like, don't quote me on it, 'cause I can't remember like specifically, but there was like this example of like how this lady would go to like the movies with her friends and stuff, and or go to eat, and she would always talk about like her husband all the time, and they were like, you really don't have to like talk about him, he's dead. But she was like, no, I'm not gonna like just stop talking about him. Like, I'm gonna incorporate him into this. I mean, I guess the friends probably wasn't too happy, but like, she refused to let them like just cut him out, you know? And I respect that, man. Like, don't just erase them just because the physical part of them is gone. And then I think there was another one where like this lady was like writing the Christmas cards, and like her husband's name was on them, and then like everybody was like expecting her to just like take his name off because he died. It's like, no, he's still here. Like, he still was a part of her life. Like, she ain't gotta do that if she don't want to. So yeah, there's just like little things. And then I just remembered another one. Like, this lady had like her checks, and they had like her husband's name on them, and she was like, yeah, I like to see his name on the checks because I know like he wanted me to be financially secure, and like every time I see his name, I'm reminded that he made sure of that. And I just thought that was so like, oh, like, you know, just the little things like you just hold on to. I think that makes it like better, because if I had just felt like I had to just like cut him off, like, oh, he's gone, that's the end, then that would just feel like so much more horrible. Like, it's already horrible, but like, don't make it more hard than it's gotta be. So now I just kind of try to find ways to like feel connected to him and like include him in stuff. It makes it better. I'm not gonna sit here and say that like I'm all better. Like, I know like maybe from an outside perspective it might seem like I'm just like, yeah, he's dead, like whatever. But I'm really not. I'm just kind of like at a place right now where I'm kind of stable, and I know the feelings are gonna hit me again like they always do. But like, just gotta ride it out. Take what comes like as it comes, and just make it, I guess. I mean, ain't nothing else I can do. I pretty much just accepted that some days I'm not gonna want to be here, and then other days I'm gonna be alright. And I think like accepting that is what makes it easier. Not trying to force myself to feel any kind of way, or being mad at myself. I mean, I'll be mad at myself anyway, but like try not to be mad at myself for whatever I feel, because like this has definitely been like a weird ride of mixed feelings. Like, I've really wanted to like isolate myself, kind of like cut myself off from the world and not know how to re-emerge, but I'm slowly creeping out, getting some sun. Anyway, if you're struggling, freaking my heart goes out to you. I know it's gonna be a rough road. I ain't gonna say I've been there because like everybody's experience is different, but I've definitely been on my own little journey and felt my own little pain. So I'm sorry if you're going through it. Oh, another thing before I forget, I'm gonna put like the links, or not links, but like the titles to these books in the description thing, just in case somebody wanted to like check it out. I mean, I guess I could put a link, but I ain't trying to like make money off of nothing. Like, it's not like those kind of links. But I'll put like the books in the description. And then another thing that I wanted to mention, like I had some stuff that like some people on Instagram messaged me, like some resources that really helped me. Like there was another book. I think it was called a Monster Calls. I think they made a movie too. Like I watched that, but like I like the book better. But yeah, that was good. And then there's some other like podcasts and stuff. But I'll leave all that stuff in the description, like in case anybody needs to hear or read any of that stuff. Or if you're just interested in the topic, I mean, just put it down there for you. And I wish you the best and love you. See you on the other side.